All right, we are live. Episode 5 of Survivor Calgary, Brains versus Bronze versus Belligerents. Kendal, I want to hear your reactions to that tribal council.
I stood up out of my seat. I could not believe that was happening. That was so wild and so fun. And
Definitely.
just like, I feel like I'm still reeling.
In the last 2 tribals, we've had every single idol in the game plus a shot in the dark correctly played. There's no more idols left.
There's no other idols.
No
That's
idols
it. We're done.
in the game. We've had 5 idols played if you count the shot in the dark in 2 tribal councils.
So with the same team, with the whole same group of people.
Absolutely, yeah. It just a mess. Unfortunately, that does mean 2 people knocked out back to back with a single vote. Willow goes here. What are your thoughts on seeing Willow go here?
Okay, I'm a little bit devastated because, like I said in the last recap, I was starting to really see Willow's player side come out, and I was really excited to see where that was going to go. And then throughout Willow was the whole episode was doing so well, and I was so impressed that she sniffed out Malone in a way that it seemed like the other players,
people just kind of weren't. I think everyone knew Malone was sneaky.
Yeah,
Keegan wanted to work with that sneaky because it was the only way he could move forward. Everyone else clearly a target for him here, but I think that's a lot because of Willow being we need to get that motherfucking snake out of here.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think she really carried that vision and drive and brought some passion to it. And I think the intuition was spot on and really, really great. And I mean, how is she supposed to know? How do you prepare for a tribal? I don't know that there's anything else that she could have done to prevent that.
It really feels like she was targeted because she correctly assessed Malone as a threat.
Yeah.
He was the only one who made the decision because he had the idol.
Yeah.
And she goes home, unfortunately, here. I do think she had a lot, like you said, she was really coming into that kind of game player mode, I guess, in a way, where I think for the first few, she was playing very well socially. A lot of people wanted to work with her and everything like that. But I don't think she was fully aware of how much some players like Keegan and Malone were playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at this point in the game, she fully knows that. She is fully, her intuition is cranked up to 10. She's trying to figure out these reads. But unfortunately, Malone sees her as the person he's least likely to work with. So she goes home.
For sure. And I mean, I said this in the chat during the episode. I obviously think I would have liked to see and was kind of expecting for Malone to vote for Keegan, because I think, especially because when he cast his vote, he said feels like maybe my only chance to Well, I think that it was a good call for Malone to vote for Willow, but I wasn't expecting it.
He does know Keegan has the idol because Keegan's working. The other thing is he does know that, or at least we hear him say after the challenge that Keegan is his only other hope of working with other than Sydney, who we then immediately saw him target, which was kind of weird. He's like, all right, guys, let's work through this in real time. I got to work with Sydney. I need to get her vote. And maybe I can pull in Keegan and we can go after someone on the other side. And then we immediately see it cut to him talking about, oh yeah, Sydney needs to go because she's Braun.
But he was saying that to the little Brains gang, right?
I mean, and you do 3, because if he's talking about those 3 people, 3 and 3 is still a tie.
Yeah.
And then they have to hope they're playing their idol right, basically.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it would have been funny because the 3 people he brings up all play idols at this tribal council. Have idols to play. They would have been able to theoretically take it if any of them trusted each other, but I don't think Sydney trusted Malone at all. I think Keegan was super tentative after Malone said, "Oh yeah, your friends threw out your name. That's weird." But
yeah. There was a lot of distrust going around for this episode. A lot of fear definitely going on. And you know what? Justifiably, right? That team has been through it the last 2 episodes. So
just the footage of them coming back from that challenge that they were so close to winning. and then having it such that they're just sitting there. No one wants to say anything because they're too tired. They're too exhausted. They don't know what to say at this point.
Yeah, it was tough. And I mean, I think I really was hoping that they would be able to pull it out because it was just the puzzle. And I think the puzzles are such a great like way to end that kind of a relay.
So there was actually I don't know how well it came across in the challenge, just because we had limited footage and everything like that. There was a giant time gap between when they finished throwing and when the other team finished throwing. It was like a 9-minute difference. And for Keegan and Willow to bring it back where it's like 10 seconds left and they've got it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It was very impressive. I don't think it was clear just how big that gap was. But it definitely felt impressive.
Felt like a comeback.
Yeah, for sure. And it seemed, those two seemed like the best people to put in that.
Great. They were fantastic. Yeah. They really were close to beating Katie and Craig there. And it was really Malone. Was it Malone, Sydney? Malone, Sydney, and Kristen were the throwers. And Malone brought it up in tribal council, big softball guy, letting the team down a little bit here. We give out some criticism to the player of the week.
I was gonna say we need a new someone getting carried through the challenge award of the week, and that would be
this is Malone's 4th tribal council out of 5 he could have potentially gone to. So he's only won 1 challenge so far. Every other time he's been to tribal council, he's the only person in the game that can say that, which is rough. So he found 2 idols, but he's had to burn them both just to survive here, which is pretty unfortunate. We do have Malone coming in here to try and
defend his honor.
Fair enough. I wasn't paying that close attention, but very fair.
Okay, wait. I have a quick question for you, Cole.
Yes.
Do you think that because Malone has had to burn the idols, but also that now everybody knows, I mean, not burn them, he used them, he needed them in both instances, but do you think him having found 2 idols so early in the game, and just the type of player he is, do you think that's gonna
quick, he didn't need to play the idol last week. Last week he received no votes.
Did he not? Oh, yeah, this was the whole thing about, because insurance. We're talking about insurance.
He didn't receive a single vote last week. Now he has none left. He's had to play his non-expiring idol. And we talked about this last week. You were very sure that right call to play the idol. Make sure you're safe into the next round. We see someone else do something very similar here, where we see Keegan burn his idol.
Yes. Yeah.
Talk me through what you think of Keegan playing his idol here.
Okay.
It does expire. We are closer to emerge. He might not need it. Who knows?
But I think if I am committed to being a person who learns from their mistakes, and if I can honestly say that, in retrospect, maybe Malone did not need to play his idol and should not have played his idol last week, then the logic has to apply to Keegan here, right? I don't know. I think
Keegan is in a majority position. He's not in a minority position, so it is a little bit different for sure.
Yeah.
But seeing the 2 members of the minority play their idols does get a little bit spooky for sure. I understand that. Yeah. I think Keegan has talked to me, and we're going to have Keegan on the podcast later, so we'll get him to talk about that decision more a bit later. For context, we do have Keegan and Willow joining us in a little bit to talk about kind of the game so far and their plans moving forward. I do quickly want to talk about Keegan's idol in another way, though, where we see before the challenge, he talks to Kristen and has this idea to secretly give his idol to Katie after the challenge if they win. What are your thoughts?
I don't really get it. I don't know. I think that I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I think that I just think that it is wise to keep them for yourself. And I know that that's not the most
fair. I think with these expiring idols where they're going away at the merge, I actually really like the decision, and not just because he's my twin brother. But I think, especially now where you've kind of established that, oh, hey, this is going to be a war between brains versus bronze. And they have a hostage over there on the other tribe. They have Katie. If they go to tribal council, and it's been made very clear throughout the footage that we've seen so far, Katie is likely the target.
Right.
Which is good read by Keegan. He obviously doesn't have access to that footage, but it's pretty clear to see, there's four brawn, 2 belligerents, 1 brain. The brains are strong over here, so they're going to want to try and pick them off over there. So I kind of like it. I really wanted to see what would have happened should the Latrans lose a challenge, and Katie does get this idol from Keegan here, because I think we're likely to see another 6 votes canceled out, 1 vote from Katie kind of chooses who she takes out here.
Right. But so okay, wait. So are they
for that idol? That's not a possibility. If
but in theory,
challenge and Latrans goes to tribal, Katie's got nothing but her shot in the dark potentially.
Right. I mean, but how excellent would it be if we get multiple shots in the dark that are
successful?
Yeah, that would be
pretty crazy if it were to happen, for sure. We'll have to watching the season, but
is Keegan only allowed to give it to Katie in the context of a challenge? Like, that's the only time
they're not allowed to go across camp and just be like, hey, here you go. So he would have had to give it to her at a time where the tribes are together. That's kind of where we stand with the rules, where you're not allowed to have cross-tribal communication unless the tribes are explicitly brought together for some reason.
Right. So it's not like Keegan could have waited until the challenge, to see really who won the challenge, and then he would have
been able to wait until the very end of the challenge, handed it off to her, and then gone from there. He wouldn't have been able to. He would have been able to maybe whisper over to Katie hey, are you in trouble? But I think he had a pretty good read of that already. So.
Yeah, that's fair. But he needed it, so it was a good thing he didn't. Yeah, good thing he kept it. Well, yeah, did he? I don't know. He kind of needed. I don't know.
I think. Yeah, we'll talk about this later with Keegan, but he's kind of told me after the fact. He doesn't think he needed to play that idol there. The reason he doesn't think that is because he knew he had a pretty good read that Malone thought that he was someone he needed to work with. And so why would Malone target me?
Right.
I think he was maybe concerned about Sydney throwing maybe a vote his way, because I don't think he really knew that he had the trust of Sydney, even though we saw her voting confessional here say, Keegan, I trust you with my life.
Yeah.
Please don't put me out, kind of thing.
Yeah, so, for sure.
I do quickly want to touch on, before we bring Keegan and Willow in, this decision from Sydney, or not really the decision from Sydney, the decision from the rest of the Brains tribe to not split the vote on Sydney. We see all 5 of this tribe's votes go towards Malone. They get canceled out. And then Malone decides that Willow goes home with the lone vote.
Why?
Why do I want to? It's impressive socially. I think the fact that you're able to be like, oh yeah, I'm on the bottom, I'm on the enemy side, but I really want to work with you guys.
Right.
And you don't need to split the vote because I want to be a number for you when we go into the merge. And the Brains tribe, I think what they're doing here, and I could be wrong about this, I think what they're doing here is saying, okay, we don't want to alienate Sydney going into a merge, so we don't want to put any votes on her.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's pretty smart then. I guess it's I feel like the Brains decisions are there's always a step farther than what I understand as Survivor strategy here. Do you know what I mean? I'm I don't know. It made sense.
They're on the Brains tribe for a reason. They're on the Brains tribe for a reason. They're clearly thinking a lot, maybe overthinking here.
Yeah.
But so far it seems to be going decently for them, other than the fact that we see Willow go
home. Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, I think that if I have a lot of doubt that Sydney would trust Malone enough to work with him in a good, I don't know, I guess we'll see when the merge is happening. But I think that especially now that the Brains are weakened quite significantly.
Yeah, it's 3-2 on that tribe now between Brains and non-Brains. So all they need to do is flip one over if they trust each other. Theoretically, if they were to work together, then all they need to do is flip one over and they have control of that tribe, which is a lot better than they were before.
Yeah, it's a much stronger position to be in.
Yeah, pretty impressive, honestly, and very impressive for Sydney to survive so far. Even if it is kind of with the help of idols, she didn't really need it, which is impressive to see.
For sure.
one other thing I wanted to bring up, which is kind of interesting. At the end of the last episode, we saw a little flash on the bin. Do you remember seeing that?
No.
The bin
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I wanted to bring this up because I think a lot of people missed it. This was our clue to the audience, kind of, that, hey, the Fireball idol is in this bin. If you look closely, you can see a bottle of Fireball wrapped in blue tape that they can take, drink, and all of a sudden they have another idol. And when we cut to Tribal Council this episode, we see Malone take a good long look in that bin as he's grabbing his torch. Something to maybe think about going into this next episode. Maybe Malone has access to a third idol. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. I'm going to quickly ask, and we'll, as they kind of come in, I'll get Keegan and Willow to come in to join us here. I think they're listening, so they can come in. Quickly, I wanted to get your input on the drinks. Which of the drinks would you have chosen to drink if you had to?
Okay, I honestly was just like, I am recovering from being sick this week, so I think my brain is moving very slowly because it took me a minute to realize all the drinks were going to be different, and I did not.
I think we could have made that clearer too. We could have made that clearer too. Absolutely.
But I think that there wasn't my favorite player in the whole season, Justine's drink, like Pepsi, Sprite, vodka, was it?
I think it was,
and an apple,
Pepsi, Sprite, Bacardi, and an apple slice, which sounds lovely, honestly.
I think that anything that doesn't have decaying carrot in it is going to be like a good call.
Finger, but yeah.
I think that one sounded like the least chunky and involving the least like chewing. There's the minimal chewing requirements, which is something that I really look for in a good drink, to be honest, like day to day. Yeah. I'm
going to get up and stand behind them. Can we just move it toward the middle? Yeah, we can move it more toward the middle. That works.
Keegan, that's such a cool sweater.
Hold on. Does this work? Can everybody be in here?
Hello.
Okay. Hi. We have Keegan and we have Willow joining us here. The latest boot and one of 3 idol players. Willow first. How does it feel watching that episode back?
That was hard to watch. It was really emotional. There's lots of things that I forgot were said, and lots of things I didn't know were said. But yeah, it was a sad reminder of everything that went down.
What are your feelings towards Tyler Malone?
Malone, I just don't trust that man.
I think if we've learned anything from Survivor season 3 so far, that might be the main takeaway. He's played. I want to say, to be clear, he's played a phenomenal game so far. Yes. But I think it's starting to catch up to him, the lies he's had to tell, or he believes he's had to tell to keep himself safe. Keegan.
Yes.
You played your idol here. We talked a little bit about it earlier. What did you think? What was kind of going through your head other than alarm bells while you were making this decision to play the idol or not?
The main one dominating my thoughts was, oh God, am I going to go home with an idol in my pocket?
And Kendal, I think you brought that up last week, is like, that is the ultimate disgrace.
I mean, There was a lot of panic going into that tribal council that we didn't have footage of, because right beforehand, Malone went up to Kristen Malone went up to Sydney, who then went up to Kristen, who then went up to me, basically saying, I have an idol, vote Willow. And he like ran off into tribal council.
Okay, so you knew then, or you had an idea maybe that.
My reaction was, don't worry, Sydney. There's no way he has an idol. Where would it have come from? I have my camps and we've already seen his, because I didn't know there was a non-expiring one yet.
Yeah. Was there any thought in playing your idol for Willow here?
My concern was, even if I play my idol and it works on Willow, then it becomes a situation where it's a tie vote, and Sydney and Malone have literally all of the power in terms of negotiation,
where they can choose kind of between terms of Kristen,
how they want to break
Taylor,
up the brain,
and you.
Brain trot.
That makes sense. We have a question for Willow here from a certain Tyler Malone. I believe, don't come at the king, come at the king and you best not miss, is not in this question, but what was a quote from him. Question for Willow. Are you willing to come clean about being the one who told me Keegan was on the bottom of the Brains tribe?
That's not true. It's like we said, we just watched the episode. If we've learned anything, it's to not trust anything that Malone says. But that's, first of all, I don't talk like that. I won't say, like, you watched me the entire game. You never saw me speaking that kind of language, first of all. And you see me repeat to Keegan exactly what it said, which is I had, not that my memory is like completely golden of everything that went down in summer, but I went through everyone and was like, here's kind
This
of
is
where
maybe
everyone
why they
stands.
might get voted out.
Which is like, yeah, this is like I said, like, oh, Kristen's not doing the best in the physical challenges. Like, I have my faults. Like, you know, Keegan has played the game before. Like, those are the things that I was saying. But I never was like, I was like, Keegan, he's the one that we need to vote out. Because as we all know, I was honest to Sydney when we were going to vote Sydney out. And with Malone, like, I was very clear about what my intentions were with whoever. And if Keegan was ever on my radar, you would have seen it come from me.
We'll see a cap here from Malone. I will point out too, Kristen did seem to back, like, I obviously don't have access to these conversations either. Kristen did seem to back up what Willow was saying to Keegan in this kind of group discussion. And I don't know if that's Kristen potentially trying to ease things over to not cause chaos in Brains and trying to keep things everything kind of copacetic. Certainly an interesting tribal council, certainly interesting tribe dynamics on that tribe. Kendal, do you have any questions for either of these two here?
Willow, I'd like to know where you get your nails done. And then Keegan, more serious question. I'm curious about your like concession and like how you made the decision around like focusing on Malone as a means to like repair the relationship with Willow, and then like how you think that decision went and how that like what the thought process a little bit there was afterwards. I don't know if that question was clear.
I don't know if you want to go first.
Yeah, I love having my nails done. She's a femme girly. I get them done at Gold's Nail and Spa. By a woman named Rose. She's super sick.
Amazing.
There you go.
Shout out, Rose.
Thank you. Thanks, Kendall. Also, it's nice to meet you.
Hi. Yeah.
As for the question you had for me, basically I thought that my position was pretty precarious with the Brains tribe at this point, mostly because of the reveal that I had an idol and that I had told Malone first. I think I was worried that people were worried about me, and I also still had that idea in my head from Malone planting it, that they sort of wanted me out already anyway. And then directly after that, Willow was very adamant that we needed to get rid of Malone. We had to get rid of Malone. We shouldn't even split. Malone needs to go. And so
I never said we shouldn't even split. I don't talk in Survivor.
That's true.
I said I wanted to be alone.
It was
like Cindy.
It was very firm, which is like, okay, we don't even really need to talk about a split here. It's probably better if we're making Sydney trust us more. If there's like one more challenge and we just need to win that one, and then we get to merge, and then maybe Sydney trusts us more after that.
I was just like, I like Sydney and I don't trust Malone, and I was right. So
I also wanted to avoid split votes, because if one person flips because they don't trust me, and Sydney and Malone are able to convince that person to vote for me instead, then I go home.
Yeah, that precarious position where you're splitting 2-2 and 2, it's very easy for it to turn into a 3-2-1.
Right.
For sure. Very, very worried grounder, unstable ground that you're treading on there. Willow, I am curious because we have kind of talked a lot about that inner hierarchy for you on the Brains tribe. If, let's say, theoretically, you did have to potentially target one of Keegan, Kristen, or Taylor, who were you kind of closest to on that tribe? And who would you have maybe tried to look to target?
I mean, I was like kind of close with all of them in the sense, but I didn't know any of them very well. I was trusting Keegan probably more than I should have. Watching it back, I was definitely trusting him more than I should have. There definitely was some like tension with the fact that he told me to my face, we're not voting Haley out, and then Haley got voted out in this last episode we saw. But so like I probably, if someone was pushing Keegan, probably could have like pushed me towards him, but more so like Kristen, because I saw like what she was doing. Like I didn't talk about it, but her being so quiet, like I saw that and I was like, she's just trying to like hide in the little shadows and like ride her way through. And I think that was so smart of her and I really respect that from her. But I think I also like I knew a little bit that she played Survivor online as well. So more so my first person that I would have thought of is I would have been like, okay, well, Kristen, because I see what she's doing, but it never really got to that point where I had to consider it. So
I think we saw that in the confessionals in the earlier episodes too, where you were bringing up people who you might want to target.
yeah.
Another real quick question for you, because you brought her up, Haley, gone too soon, rest in peace.
R.I.P.
Was there ever any, like, you get swapped onto a tribe with her, is there any immediate thought of like, oh, I want to work with her right away?
Well, I wanted to work with Haley because she was the only one I kind of knew. But to be like fair, I didn't know anyone coming up. Like before we went on the Survivor trip, I had known Haley for less than 2 weeks. So there was a sense of comfort in being around someone that you know. But like I said, after that first initial conversation that I had with Haley, where she was like, I didn't feel that she was receptive, and you see me say that I didn't feel like she was receptive, like that energy in itself, I was willing to be like, okay, well, that's fine. Like if I felt like she didn't want to work with me, it was no. But if she had been willing to work with me, then I definitely would have gone down that route.
Kendall, any other questions for Keegan or Willow?
Yeah, Willow, are you a frog or a toad?
I'm a frog.
Yeah.
Well, the really colorful ones, because those are the poisonous ones.
That's a good metaphor. Good metaphor here. I like it. That's good.
Anything you two want to say before we kick you out of the room?
I want to defend my idol give up to Katie a little bit.
Okay.
And say that part of the intention of the move was that no one other than maybe Kristen would have known that I gave my idol up to Katie. And so all of the people still in the game still think I have an idol, and that gives me some amount of buffer in terms of people not coming at me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. I guess I would like to say that as much as it's been like anti-Malone for the past few months, like it's all jokes. It's all in good fun, and I do respect him as a person. I respect the fact that he was playing the game. It does suck that to watch it back and feel like I could have played so much more, and instead of it like almost earning my way out of the game for some reason or coming into that one person got to make that decision for me is a little disheartening, and it is like it feels unfair, but that's also the name of the game. So like it is what it is, and Malone, you know, it's fun to have a mortal enemy, but it is all good fun.
We love a nemesis. I have a whole list of I have a whole list of
water under the king's drawbridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly though, Willow, I think that you absolutely did earn your way out of the game. And I think that if for a player as strong as Malone and as strategic as Malone, who's like really thinking through, you know, several steps forward, for him to say like, this might be my only chance to take a shot at this player, and for you to be the focus there, I think like speaks to the game that you were playing.
Thank you.
Damn right. All right. You two can leave now.
Thank
Kendall
you
and
so
I
much.
have
It was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Bye, Keegan.
Kendall and I have important matters to discuss.
Yes.
The important decision of the week.
Yes. Are you going to give me some
I have a
options?
short list for you again.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay. So I don't think I have any nominees from the Latrans tribe. I think if I were to give a nominee to someone on the Latrans tribe, it would likely be either Eric or Shervin for kind of bringing Craig in and making him feel safe. From the Boast tribe, I personally think that there's a very obvious player of the week this week, but I will not say who I think it is. From the Boast tribe, I think you have to talk about Sydney, who is able to play an idol that she kept secret, but that she didn't even need it because she has socially ingratiated herself into this group. I think you can theoretically talk about Keegan for playing kind of all of the sides, having this idea to maybe give an idol to Katie to keep her safe, clearly playing the game in a very hard way, and also clearly doing that damage control that he set out to do. No one's targeting him at this vote. Lastly, I think you could theoretically talk about Malone here again, plays that idol, keeps himself safe, negates 5 votes. Pretty clearly a game-saving move for him to play the idol. But it's hard to say where he kind of fits in socially after this. Kendall, who do you think is your player of the week?
It's so hard because like literally up until she got voted out, I was like, Willow is the player of the week because I think that the again, like the intuition is strong. She's like seeing dynamics on the team that I don't think other people are picking up on. I think she's doing a good job for the most part of like noticing the dynamics and then not necessarily speaking about all of the dynamics out loud and like saying them to everyone. I think obviously the explicit focus on Malone like did her in here, but I do think that her getting voted out was there was a combination of factors that happened. Combination of things that happened.
Say like, hey, we need to get this guy out, and players who are extremely strong, thoughtful players like Kristen and Keegan and Taylor going like, yeah, let's not even worry about splitting the vote. Yeah. We're going with you here. That's certainly to her credit.
For sure. And I mean, I think even, the fact that people knew enough, people respected her position enough on the team. Charlie has some thoughts on this.
Hi, Charlie.
They respect her. They respect her enough to to agree with her, go with her, and not. He's upset. He doesn't like when I sit at the desk.
He just wants attention. I understand.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think I feel okay. I feel bad because I think Willow should be the player of the week, but it also feels funny to give player of the week to someone who just got voted out. Yeah. So I think that my second choice, oh man, I don't know how to choose. I think it's got to be Sydney. I think it's got to be like. I think
you made the right choice. I think you made the right choice.
I think the fact that like again, there's a lot of the fact that she's had that idol for so long, that she still did the shot in the dark the week before.
That's like, also brilliant to be like, oh yeah, I'm safe because I have this idol, but let me just make sure that I'm playing to all of my outs here.
Yeah.
Use that shot in the dark.
Yeah.
Save myself.
Yeah.
Now I have it for next week.
Absolutely.
I don't need it here, but I'm going to play it anyway.
Yeah. And I think the fact that like she really, there was no, like I had no idea that she had an idol. She really played up the dynamics of like, before the vote last time around of like, I'm so desperate. I have no idea what And then clearly like the social piece after last tribal of being like, oh, I'm so desperate for the brains. Like I need you to, I mean, like, tell me what I need to do to like get in here. If it's voting Malone out, like I'll do it kind of thing. Like, I don't know exactly how that all played out, but there were some social pieces that she played here, I think, to get herself in this position. And yeah, I think keeping the idol secret, playing the idols when she did was really smart. And I think that's awesome. And I would love to see, I don't know if she should trust Malone, but I would love to see her and Malone pull in a rogue brain here. I think that would be a really
super interesting to see. Now, So you're saying you want, because we have, I'll let this little spoiler fly. We have one more episode before the merge.
Okay.
Do you want to see Latrans go to tribal council, or do you want to see this Boast tribe get pushed to tribal council again and have to test these relationships one more time and see Malone and Sydney fight or maybe come together or...
Okay, well, I've said already I would like to see Connell out next. And I'll say it again.
I don't think Connell's the one going home if we go
I
down.
know, and this is
that's the way it looks right now, I will say.
Yeah, I think based on where we're at right now, it would be naive of me to say that if Latrans goes to tribal council, that Connell will be the next to go. But I would like to see that. I don't know. I mean, I think that it would be really interesting. I think it will make for interesting dynamics if Brains is not, it already is, but like if Brains is not as strong in going into the merge as they seem right now, because Braun and Belligerents have been able to like do some coalitioning together with like a common enemy. And if that common enemy is less clear.
4 Belligerents and 5 Braun currently in the game.
Interesting. Yeah. So I think it'll be interesting. Maybe the Brains and Belligerents can come back together to focus on the Braun, because that at some point I think had been thrown out. Like, yeah, I think it's interesting. belligerence, I think, is where my heart's at, like for the most part, to be honest.
Fair.
So I just
Fair.
like to see all of them come through. Yeah, but I think if Sydney and Malone would be able to pull in a rogue brain and be
I'm wrong. There's only 3 belligerents left. I lied.
because it's Malone,
It's Malone, it's Craig, and it's Kayla. Those are the 3 who are left.
right? Yeah, and Kayla also seemed to be doing some more strategic work.
Yeah, we didn't see her this episode, but we saw her talking to Katie the one previously. So
we saw her a little bit this episode, didn't we? There's a
yes,
quick
we did. Yes, we
confessional.
did.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, and seeing a little bit more of the like backstage of the game.
Yeah, trying to work in the background a little bit and try and push her agenda where she can. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kendall, thank you again for joining me. Always lovely to talk to you after these
Thank
episodes.
you.
Always lovely to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, thanks.
I'll see you next week.
Sounds good.
Have a great one, everyone. Bye.
Bye.